Everyone. We're going to give it just a couple minutes just to see and make sure that everyone logs in and has no issues with connectivity. So just bear with us for just a couple moments and then we'll get started.
All right, folks, thank you very much for attending today. My name is Lauren McCauley. I'm the pretty new specialty crop block grant program solicitation manager. We really appreciate all of your efforts and willingness to help out the program year after year. Let's take it away, Ed.
All right, so today's presentation is basically just to kind of inform all the TRC members of kind of what to expect over the coming months as far as any trainings that are required, forms, kind of the overall process of what the TRC is about. So I guess if Andrew wants to start the presentation, we can kind of go from there, and we'll take breaks in between each presentation to take questions. And you can put those in the chat, or you can send those through the email at grants@cdfa.ca.gov. But I guess we can go ahead and get started. It looks like we pretty much have everyone. So, Andrew, if you want to take it away.
Welcome to the 2026 Specialty Crop Block Grant Program, SCBGP Technical Review Committee, or TRC meeting. A separate recording has been made of these presentations and will be made available on the TRC portal. Today's presentations will provide an overview of the TRC process, a review of the required forms and trainings, a walkthrough of the FAST application system which is used to review assigned proposals. An email will be sent following this meeting that will include the Conflict of Interest form, Oath of Allegiance, and the 2026 Request for Concept Proposals, or RFCP. A copy of the presentation slides is available in the chat or by emailing us at grants@cdfa.ca.gov. More information regarding the TRC resource portal will be provided in the next presentation. The California Department of Food and Agriculture, CDFA, would like to thank everyone for volunteering, especially those participating for the first time. There is a lot to get done in the next several months, and your contributions are greatly appreciated. Your efforts are what help to make this program such a great success. As the presentation begins, CDFA staff will be available to answer questions. Please feel free to add any questions to the chat. There will also be time for questions and answers at the end of each presentation. As always, you are also welcome to reach out to us through the grant inbox. The purpose of the SCBGP is to award funds for projects that enhance the competitiveness of California specialty crops. To accomplish this, CDFA conducts an annual competitive solicitation process. Proposals submitted to this application process undergo 2 levels of technical review. CDFA staff conducts an administrative review to ensure that all proposals submitted meet certain eligibility requirements and administrative requirements. CDFA then relies upon the TRC to ensure that the content of each proposal pertains to issues that are relevant and timely to the specialty crop industry, and that the objectives of proposals can be met and will result in a successful project. those who have participated as a technical reviewer in prior years, we would like to highlight a few changes to the program for 2026. Applications for the conventional SCBGP have been submitted via the FAST system. There have been some minor changes to the allowable and unallowable costs and activities table, and some reminders of changes that went into effect last year. California AB 1887, which prohibited state-funded travel to states with discriminatory laws, is no longer in effect. Finally, the thresholds for special purpose equipment and supplies have been increased from $5,000 to $10,000. The funding areas and categories for the 2026 SCBGP are listed here. All proposals submitted must select a funding category and address at least one of the program priorities listed within the selected funding category. These funding categories also make up each of the TRC subcommittees. Each review is assigned to a specific subcommittee based on preference and expertise. These next few slides will provide a brief overview of the funding categories. More details, including a full description of your assigned funding category, area, and associated program priorities, can be found in the Request for Concept Proposals, or RFCP. In Funding Area 1, Market Enhancement, there is a single category, Category A, which is titled Grown in California. Proposals submitted to this category should enhance the marketability and long-term competitiveness of specialty crops by leveraging their unique qualities. These proposals should highlight the unique qualities and characteristics of specialty crops because they are grown in California. Outcome Measure 1, Indicator 1.5, must be selected for all concept proposals submitted to the Grown in California funding category. All marketing and promotion projects must also select Outcome Measure 1, Indicator 1.5, regardless of the funding category that the proposal is submitted under. From Outcome Measure 1, Indicator 1.5, at least one sub-indicator must be selected. Funding Area 2 is Access, Education, and Training. This funding area includes two categories, which are Category A, Healthy Specialty Crops for All Californians. All proposals submitted to this category should improve access to and consumption of specialty crops in underserved communities and/or improve the public's knowledge and understanding of specialty crop agriculture and the beneficial importance to the health and well-being of all Californians. And Category B, Opportunity and Education for All California Specialty Crop Farmers. All proposals submitted to this category should benefit current and future specialty crop farmers by providing education and training, including improving equity through culturally appropriate education and training for socially disadvantaged farmers in areas such as business development and regulatory compliance. Area 3 focuses on research and includes two categories. Category A, Environmental Stewardship, Conservation, and Sustainable Agriculture. The proposals submitted to this category should address specialty crop agriculture's potential to mitigate and/or adapt to climate change, contribute to conservation of agricultural land and water, and/or enhance soil health. And Category B, Plant Health and Pest Management. Proposals submitted to this funding category should address pests, invasive species, and diseases that affect the production of California's specialty crops. These are the number of concept proposals received for each category in 2026. Overall, SCBGP solicitation and review process occurs in two phases, the concept proposal phase and the grant proposal phase. In Phase 1, the concept proposal phase, technical reviewers will review and score submitted concept proposals. Successful concept proposal applications will be invited to submit a full grant proposal. In Phase 2, the grant proposal phase, technical reviewers will review and score submitted grant proposals. Successful grant proposal applications will be submitted to the USDA for final approval as part of California's state plan. Here's an overview of the process for both phases. Each technical reviewer will first conduct an individual review, which includes scoring and providing comments for their assigned proposals. CDFA will consolidate the reviews and determine the average score for each proposal. The technical reviewers will then meet with their subcommittees to discuss proposals in their funding category in greater detail, determine final scores for each proposal, and finalize comments for both the applicant and CDFA. In the concept proposal phase, the individual reviews and scores will need to be completed by November 5th, 2025. There are 8 sections, one of which is unscored. The remaining 7 scored sections total 50 points. A score of 50 denotes a perfect proposal with no room for any improvement. These are very rare. A score above 40 represents an excellent concept proposal, and a score below 20 denotes a poor concept proposal that will have little likelihood of either success and/or benefiting the specialty crop industry. The grant proposal phase will be conducted the same way as the concept proposal phase, though the scoring is out of 100 points in phase 2. The review process will end with a public meeting on March 13, 2026. During this time, one TRC member from each funding category or subcommittee will formally submit a list of grant proposals to CDFA for consideration. These are the 8 sections of the concept proposal application that TRC members will use to evaluate and score the 2026 SCBGP concept proposals. Please note that Section 3, prior year SCBGP projects, will not be a scored question. Reviews of proposals submitted to the conventional SCBGP program will be submitted electronically using the FAST system. All reviewers will be provided with guidelines, questions, and scoring criteria for each section to assist with evaluations. Scoring for each individual section of the proposal should be considered in the context of the proposal as a whole, taking all relevant factors into consideration, including how well the applicant answered the questions. More importantly, each submission should be evaluated individually and scored based on the proposal's own merits and attributes. Similarities to other proposed projects should not be a factor in scoring. Here's what the outcome measures template looks like. All applicants are required to select at least one outcome measure and one associated indicator and/or sub-indicator. All chosen outcome measures, indicators, and sub-indicators, if applicable, must be achievable within the grant duration. Please clearly state if you do not believe at least one outcome measure can be achieved within the grant duration, and provide suggestions for how the applicant can modify their project or outcome measure choice in order to meet this criteria. This is some of the most vital feedback you can provide. This is what the budget template looks like. When reviewing the budget, please keep in mind that all items included should support enhancing the competitiveness of specialty crops and correlate to the goal or goals of the project. The concept proposal budget does not require a high level of detail during this phase, but should provide a general overview of the costs necessary to complete the project. Required costs are for the entire length of the project. For example, salaries requested would represent up to 2 years and 8 months of salary costs, not the annual salary of the personnel in question. Please note that in order to read the larger budget description, you may need to click the description box and use the scroll bar on the right-hand side of the box to read the rest of the text. If you find you are having issues with this, please reach out to us for additional guidance. We would like to emphasize how critical the comments each reviewer provides in the overall review comment section at the end of each review are to this process. These comments make up the feedback provided to the applicant, which will assist them in improving their proposal in the grant phase, or if they are not selected for the grant phase, assist them in developing future proposal applications. Comments provided to applicants invited to submit a full grant proposal enable applicants to address concerns and provide further clarification. Please note that the comments to applicants should be constructive in nature and include items that the project could improve upon moving forward. There is no need to write comments such as section complete, work plan is good, or any other similar comments. TRC feedback should be professional and constructive. It should also be specific, actionable, and support the individual score provided for the concept proposal. At a minimum, comments should address each of the proposal areas where the score falls below average, provide constructive and actionable feedback to improve areas of the proposal where the score falls below average, and provide suggestions for how the overall proposal could be improved. Please note that there is no need to address standard sections if there is no salient comments to be made, nor is it necessary to summarize the proposal's text. Here's a list of important dates regarding the review process. This will be made available on the TRC portal. After this webinar, CDFA will send out a survey requesting that you provide your availability regarding the TRC meetings for both Phase 1 and Phase 2. Formal meeting invitations will be sent out once the meeting dates have been finalized. Each subcommittee will meet separately and has been broken out into individual teams comprised of 3 to 5 reviewers. Depending on the number of proposals submitted to the funding category, Reviewers will be assigned anywhere from 9 to 16 proposals. One person will provide a brief summary of the overall proposal before the discussion and the final scoring determination begin. Reviewers will then be given an opportunity to discuss the merits of these proposals. This is when reviewers will discuss any questions or concerns they may have had regarding the proposal. The reviewing members will then have an opportunity to determine a final score. If only one member of the team is present, that individual will determine the final score. All members of the subcommittee are welcome to provide comments, feedback, and pose questions to the members for the reviewed proposal. However, only the members assigned to the proposal will determine the final score. Because each proposal must be scored based on its own individual merits, reviewers are not typically able to go back and adjust the scores of proposals once a final score has been determined. The concept proposals meeting will occur over Zoom and will take place between November 12th and the 14th. A calendar invitation will be sent with the meeting information as well as a Zoom link. During virtual meetings, any reviewers that are recused from partaking in the discussion of a particular proposal will be moved into the Zoom waiting room until the discussion of those proposals has finished. The format for the second TRC meeting, held in Phase 2 to discuss the grant proposals, is yet to be determined. The survey that will be sent out after this meeting will capture your availability for both meetings and whether you would prefer to meet in person or virtually for the grant proposal meeting scheduled for March 11th to the 13th. Technical Review Committee members will be provided with a meeting handout that includes the proposals, which will be either displayed on the screen for virtual meetings or handed out during the in-person meetings. This document will provide the proposals, descriptions, TRC comments, standard deviation, and average team scores from the reviewers. Whether these meetings are held virtually or in person, attending these meetings is important because it provides the TRC with an opportunity to adjust proposal scoring to help account for differences in scoring amongst reviewers and to ensure that the strongest proposals are recommended for funding. Therefore, all TRC members are strongly encouraged to attend. While these meetings provide an opportunity of reviewers to calibrate their scores, each proposal must be reviewed and scored based on its own merits. Contact us with any questions regarding your participation as a technical reviewer. CDFA staff are available Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and can be reached by phone or the email address provided you. If you have a general question or issue regarding FAST, please email us with FAST issue in the subject line, and we will forward the question and get you a solution as fast as possible. The FAST Help Desk is also available for any technical issues you may experience while using FAST. In addition, here are links to the SCBGP website and TRC portal, which has more information about the program and includes links to documents that will assist with your reviews, including the 2026 RFCP and other information. We will now answer questions before we move on to our next presentation. Please remember that we have upcoming presentations on both the required forms and the FAST system, so please hold off your questions regarding those topics until after those presentations. You may continue to write your questions in the chat or raise your hand and we will unmute you to ask your question. Thank you.
All right, so it looks like we just had the one question that was about the number of applications for each section. Lauren had entered that into the chat. It looks like we have still kind of in flux, but about 33 for grown in California, 37 for healthy specialty crops, 36 for opportunity education, 84 for the environmental category, and 56 for plant health. Again, those slides are posted in the materials tab, and they're going to also be posted online. So if you have any questions regarding that, you can go there. But I hope that answers the question. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. But I think for at this point, we can move forward.
We got a few more while you were answering. So the first question, will a recording of this presentation be available? Yes, that will be available on the TRC portal. Correct, Ed? That's where we put it?
Yes, that's correct. So the recording will be presented once IT posts it on the TRC portal, and that will go out with the information in the follow-up email after the meeting. So you'll find all that information in that.
How is it determined which committee we are to be part of? You selected 2 committees when you applied, and we take those into consideration. I believe everybody is in one of those 2 committees, and then otherwise we try to divide it up evenly based on the number of proposals so that no one committee has a heavier lift than another. So you may be in your second choice, but we don't just randomly put people into proposals. Will there be less total funding to allocate this year due to USDA funding cuts at the federal level? No. Specialty crop is fully funded through the Big Beautiful Bill, so we are anticipating similar funding to last year. In the past, I seem to recall that we have passed along roughly the top scoring 60% of proposals at each phase. Is that likely to continue? We did have a very high number of applications this year, so despite having similar funding, we may not have the same percentages as last year. But if I remember correctly, probably about 60% of phase 1 winds up going to phase 2. As I said, we had high numbers this year, so it might be more like 50. And roughly the top third wind up getting funded. How many technical reviewers are in each group? That depends on the group. Ed, do you want to talk to that slightly more?
Yeah, so it looks like there's about anywhere from 8 to 14 people per group, just depending on how many proposals were assigned to each group. So yeah, at the minimum, you're going to have 8 people in your group. The maximum you'll have is going to be 14, and that's for the proposals that were, or the groups that had more proposals submitted to them.
It's for the total committee, and we usually break the committees into subgroups of 2 to 3 groups so that each proposal is being reviewed by 2 to 4 individuals.
Correct. So however the teams are broken up, it could be individuals of 4 or groups of 4. It could be groups of 3 and a team of 2. But we usually like to try to have more people in teams, just in case someone doesn't score a proposal, just to balance out the scoring. So yeah, you're looking at probably teams of 4 for each group, I would assume.
Yeah, but looking at, 84 proposals in the environmental research category versus like 33 in the Grown in California category, obviously we have more individual reviewers in environmental so that they are reviewing roughly the same number of proposals each. Great. Haven't gotten a new question in a moment, so let's move on to part 2.
This presentation will cover the forms and trainings that are required to participate as a SCBGP TRC member. To begin service as a Technical Review Committee member, there are 4 items that must be completed. Those items include the Conflict of Interest form, Statement of Economic Interest, also known as the Form 700 Assuming Office, a DOJ-approved ethics training, and sexual harassment prevention training. TRC members will receive emails from South Tech Hosting, also called eDisclosure, regarding these forms. For some of these trainings, applicants may already have a certificate of completion that they can upload to the eDisclosure website. Please notify CDFA if there are any issues. And CDFA requires that all forms be submitted by Thursday, November 6th. The Conflict of Interest form will be sent to TRC members via email by CDFA. Please complete, sign, and return the form to grants@cdfa.ca.gov. By signing the Conflict of Interest form, you are committed to serving as a member on the 2026 SCBGP TRC and agreeing to disclose any conflicts of interest you may have. Although we do our best to identify possible conflicts of interest as projects are assigned for review, TRC members are required to screen the proposals that they have been assigned and must notify us as soon as possible if there are any conflicts of interest. A few sources for a conflict of interest include if any individual has helped develop a proposal or will be involved in a project, if a proposal was submitted by an individual's employer or another organization they may be affiliated with, if the individual or a family member could benefit financially from the project, or if there are any other factors that could prevent an individual from conducting an impartial review of a proposal. By signing this form, TRC members are agreeing not to disclose any information that they have access to because of their role as a reviewer. This includes discussing the content of proposals, reviewer scores, or feedback with anyone outside of the TRC meetings. This includes both reviewers and non-reviewers. It is especially important that reviewers do not discuss proposals where there is a conflict of interest. Attempting to influence the scoring of proposals where you, your family, or your employer could benefit is considered a serious ethics violation. Complete the form by filling in the information and entering an official electronic signature. Note that the e-signature must be official, and any forms with a name typed in the signature box will be returned. Also, please select the SCBGP TRC program in the drop-down box. Once completed, return the form to grants@cdfa.ca.gov. This form should be returned as soon as possible since projects will be assigned to TRC members in the coming days. Please be sure to read this form carefully to make sure you understand the requirements. If there are any questions about what constitutes a conflict of interest, please contact CDFA. The items that TRC members are required to complete and upload will be coordinated through the e-disclosure system. These items will include the Statement of Economic Interest, Form 700 Assuming Office, Ethics Training, and the Sexual Harassment Prevention Training, also known as the Maintaining a Respectful Work Environment EEO Compliance, which will be completed on the CDFA Online University. The certificates of completion will need to be uploaded to the e-disclosure system for both the ethics and sexual harassment prevention trainings. CDFA staff will add TRC members to the e-disclosure system. Occasionally, supplemental emails will be sent from CDFA regarding trainings and forms. Most of the emails regarding the Form 700 Assuming Office, ethics, and sexual harassment prevention trainings will come from South Tech Hosting. The Form 700 Assuming Office will need to be completed on the e-disclosure system within the first 30 days of becoming a TRC member. Please note that the ethics and the sexual harassment prevention trainings will each need to be completed on websites other than e-disclosure. TRC members will be required to upload the certificates of completion from these trainings into their e-disclosure account. Certificates of completion should not be submitted to CDFA via mail or email. If you are experiencing issues uploading your documents, please contact CDFA via grants@cdfa.ca.gov. Once added to the e-disclosure system, TRC members will receive a series of emails explaining how to access these 3 remaining requirements, which include specific instructions and links for how to proceed to complete them. TRC members will receive an email congratulating them on their appointment and will include a list of all the requirements that will be coordinated through the e-disclosure system. This email will provide instructions that will include specific requirements for each training and indicate where additional help can be found, including links to references. The email will also provide information about logging in or creating a new account in the e-disclosure system. If a reviewer has previously used the e-disclosure system to file a Form 700, they can use their existing password to log in. However, if they are a new Form 700 filer, the email will provide them with the links and instructions for setting up an e-disclosure account. This is what the e-disclosure homepage looks like. New filers should enter the login ID and the temporary password that was provided to them. They should then follow the instructions to complete the new account setup. After reviewers have logged in or created a new account, they can navigate to the current filings page using the menu on the left side of the screen. Note that this menu also includes helpful, easy-to-understand user guides and video tutorials should they be needed. In addition, the system can be accessed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This page will list the items that TRC members will need to complete. This is also where reviewers will be able to access and complete the Statement of Economic Interest, commonly known as the Form 700 Assuming Office. The Statement of Economic Interest, Form 700 Assuming Office, is required by the California Fair Political Practices Commission. As a TRC member who influences the funding decisions of the SCBGP, reviewers are required to file the Form 700. The Form 700 must be filed within 30 days of the TRC appointment. The official start date for the 2026 SCBGP is Thursday, October 16, 2025. The deadline to complete the Form 700 Assuming Office and other necessary forms is Thursday, November 6th, 2025. Please be aware that if the Assuming Office form is not filed by this date, reviewers will receive a non-filer notification indicating that Government Code Section 91013 imposes a $10 fine per day up to a maximum of $100. In an effort to avoid fines, South Tech Hosting will send email reminders as the deadline approaches. To complete the Form 700 in the eDisclosure system, check the box on the Form 700 line and click the Start Filing Now button. If there are any questions while filing the Form 700, please review the Filer video tutorial located under Video Tutorials in the menu on the left side of the screen. Ethics training is required by the Department of Justice Attorney General's Office and is provided on the DOJ website. TRC members will receive an email with links and instructions specifically for this training. Individuals may access the DOJ website via the link in the email or through the eDisclosure system by clicking on the Ethics Orientation for State Officials links in the menu on the left side of the screen. Reviewers should anticipate spending 1.5 to 2.5 hours to complete the program, and the training must be completed once every 2 years and must not expire before April 2026. This is the entry page for the California State Ethics Training. If reviewers have taken the training before, they can log into their account with their email address and password. If this is a reviewer's first time completing the ethics training, they will need to create a new account. For returning reviewers from last year who have already completed their ethics course, you may not need to retake this training. The eDisclosure system will already have your ethics training certificates stored. If reviewers completed the ethics training last year for the SCBGP and believe they were mistakenly sent an email requesting to complete this training again, please contact CDFA and we will assist you in rectifying this issue. Please note that there are a number of sections within the ethics training and each one listed must be completed. Even if you are not prompted to complete these sections, you are responsible for locating them and completing each one in order to successfully complete the training. These sections are listed in the ethics training email that you will receive from South Tech Hosting. We recommend taking note of these sections as you go through the training so you do not need to repeat any sections. If a filer submits an incomplete ethics certificate, it will be forwarded to the Department of Justice Attorney General's Office with a request to audit the filer's training. If found to be incomplete, the entire training will need to be repeated. If a reviewer has completed the ethics training already through an employer and the training certificate is valid through March 2026, it must also show that all the required sections have been completed in order to be accepted. Once completed, reviewers will upload their signed certificate into the eDisclosure system. The final training requirement is the Sexual Harassment Prevention Training. On January 1st, 2019, California required harassment prevention training for individuals who make decisions on behalf of and recommendations that impact both the department and various other entities. As such, reviewers are required to take a harassment prevention training class that meets the California state requirements. TRC members will receive an email with links and instructions specifically for this training. The training is offered through the CDFA Online University, which cannot be accessed through the eDisclosure system. Reviewers should anticipate spending at least 1 hour to complete the program. The training must be completed once every 2 years and must not expire before April 2026. An exemption from this training may be made for TRC members that have attended training from one of the listed entities and has a certificate of completion that does not expire before April 2026. Approval will be made on a case-by-case basis by filing officials from CDFA. If you have completed training from one of these entities, please upload your certificate of completion into the eDisclosure system for review. The filing official will notify you whether or not the certificate of training has been accepted. Please note that the time spent on the training should be listed on the certificate being uploaded. This is the entry page for the CDFA Online University, where reviewers will find the Sexual Harassment Prevention Training, also titled Maintaining a Respectful Work Environment EEO Compliance Training. If you have used this system before, you can log in with your existing username and password. If you are new to the system, click the Sign Up button to create a new account. When creating a new account, after clicking the Sign Up button, users will be taken to the Sign Up page. Reviewers will need to enter board committee members for the enrollment key name, then click Sign Up. When reviewers get to the Sign Up page, simply enter your first and last name, email address, and create a password. Select Administrative Services for the division from the drop-down menu. Make sure that Board Committee is selected, then click Sign Up to create an account. Once reviewers have completed the ethics or sexual harassment prevention training, they will need to upload those certificates into the e-disclosure system. In order to do this, click on the Current Filings, which is located in the menu on the left side of the screen. Click on the certificate that you would like to upload. In this case, check the box on the Ethics Certificate line and click Start Filing Now. In order to upload training certificates, enter the date of training completion, the training agency, which for most ethics certificates is the Department of Justice, and the length of time that the training took. Click on the Browser button to locate and upload your ethics certificate. Once the certificate has been uploaded, click Finalize, which should complete the Form 700 process. If there are any issues or discrepancies with any of the certificates, an email from South Tech Hosting will be sent. If TRC members have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Once again, here's a list of some resources that we have for members to utilize. We'll take any questions now, and then we'll move on to our FAST presentation after the questions are answered. Thank you.
We had some questions come in during the presentation. I'll share with everyone. Is there an anticipated date that the second round will be opened up? We don't have an exact date yet, but grant proposals will be due in January 2026. So you can anticipate starting phase 2 reviews in late January, early February, around there. Then some question about the review instructions saying provide written feedback on any aspect of the proposal that falls below average, but since we don't know what the average will be, how do we do that? And as Amber wisely guessed, that does just refer to your own personal average. So if you feel that a part of a proposal is below average, please provide written feedback there. And we always appreciate additional written, constructive, specific feedback is always super appreciated. And then I believe the rest of the questions were answered in the presentation. Can you tell us again where to find the e-disclosure system? Francine, this presentation is available in the materials tab up top. It's the paper with like the paper clip, and you can follow it step by step off the slide there when you're working on this later. Then a question, I am a new reviewer. Will there be any other seasoned reviewers in my group, or are we all new? And yes, we do try to spread the new reviewers out because we understand that you are learning and having a new experience. So we avoid having groups of all new reviewers. Ed, did I cut you off?
Well, I'm going to respond to Francine's question. The follow-up email will also have the e-disclosure system information in there, so you can find it there as well.
All right, let's move on to FAST.
This presentation will cover the FAST system. FAST is hosted on the State Water Board's website. All concept proposals were submitted electronically using FAST, and you will be able to access FAST 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Here are some of the technical requirements and recommendations for using FAST. Please avoid using an iPad, iPhone, or similar mobile device while using the FAST system. Also, be sure to save your work often, as the system will time out after a period of inactivity. If there are any questions or technical issues using FAST, please call or email the FAST Help Desk. The desk is staffed Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. This is what the FAST homepage looks like. FAST has started using the State Water Board's WB key. The WB Key is a single sign-on account that can be used for multiple web-based applications at the State Water Board. All FAST users must register for a WB Key account. If you have used FAST previously, you will be able to access your existing account in FAST upon successful registration of a WB Key account. Existing users are encouraged to verify the spelling of their names and emails with the FAST Help Desk to ensure their account is associated with their new WB Key account. If you already registered as an applicant for the 2026 SCBGP or were on the committee last year, you do not need to register for another WB Key account. Your reviewer role will automatically be added to your account. To assist with the transition, a short step-by-step guide has been created called WB Key Getting Started to help users complete the new process. This guide is included in the Documents section of the presentation and posted on both the FAST and SCBGP websites. If you have any questions regarding this transition or encounter any problems while registering, please reach out to the FAST Help Desk. In the subject line, please reference WB Key. After signing into FAST for the first time, users will be required to set up a multi-factor authentication or MFA application on their smartphone. This is an extra layer of protection that helps ensure that only you can access your account, even if your password is compromised. There will be prompts that users will have to follow in order to set up MFA. MFA for new WB Key account screen will appear only once to new WB Key account users. Next, you will need to search for your assignments, as different reviewers will have been assigned different proposals based on the technical committee they were assigned to. In the Request for Proposal drop-down menu, select 2026 Specialty Crop Block Grant Program. As this is the concept proposal phase, you will select Phase 1 in the Proposal phase drop-down menu. You can also sort by proposal number and organization. After logging in, you will be taken to the main menu. You will need to select View Review Assignments in order to look up the concept proposals you have been assigned. After searching the assignments, you will see a list below of your assigned concept proposals. Select a project you want to open up and work on by clicking on the review title. This will open up the selected project. At the top of the screen, you will see a number of tabs. FAST will start on the Application tab. The first section is the Application Overview. This section contains information about the submitter and applicant, the project title, project description, project manager and director, and so on. The next section is that questionnaire. This is the bulk of the application, where most of the information you will review is located, such as the funding category, project goals, project beneficiaries, project duration, and so on. Be sure to read these carefully and critically. Remember, you're reading to determine two things. Is this proposed project a priority for the specialty crop industry? And what is this project's likelihood for success? A note about reading the replies. If applicants have included links, please do not open them. Applicants were instructed to not include them as a means of circumventing the character limits. The attachments can be viewed directly from the Application tab or on the Attachments tab. You can download and review the outcome measures and the budget by clicking on the attachment title. These should be the only attachments and should be labeled as outcome measures and concept proposal budget. If there are other attachments, such as resumes, letters of recommendation, or other information, please do not open them or consider these extraneous documents in your reviews. Applicants were instructed to not provide any other attachments in order to sustain the competitiveness of the grant and to ensure no applicant has an advantage over any other. Any attachments other than the concept proposal budget or outcome measures template should be disregarded. This is what the outcome measures template looks like. Outcome measures describe the data applicants collect to help them assess the success of their project. Applicants must choose at least one outcome measure and a related indicator, as well as one sub-indicator if applicable. Applicants must also provide values that are whole numbers for the indicators and sub-indicators that they select, and not percentages, decimals, or fractions. It's important to keep in mind that all selected outcome measures must be achievable during the grant duration. In data collection methods, applicants should describe how the project will collect the data that will be used to measure and track the progress of the indicator and sub-indicators. Keep in mind that data collection referred here to is to track the progress towards achieving the indicators and sub-indicators, not how data will be collected for the project. Each outcome measure must have unique responses to the values and descriptions. Entries such as "same as above" are not complete answers. Also, all marketing and promotion projects, as well as proposals submitted to the Grown in California funding category, must select Outcome Measure 1, Indicator 1.5. This is what the budget template looks like. We are not asking you to analyze the budget line by line, but rather use your experience and knowledge to decide if the applicant gave enough information to make a determination as to reasonableness and measurable benefits in relation to each dollar spent. The amount of funds requested column is where applicants will enter the total amount of funds requested for each budget category, rounded to the nearest whole dollar. The description of costs or activities column is where applicants list the costs or activities covered. Depending on how descriptive the applicants were, you may need to scroll to view all the text entered in the descriptive boxes. A description is required for each budget category in which funds are requested, except for Category H, which is indirect costs, and Category I, which is total SCBGP funds requested. Lastly, you can see if the project will generate income as a result of the project award, which will have to be reinvested into the project. The Review Sheet tab features the scoring criteria for the 2026 Specialty Crop Block Grant Program. This is where reviewers will spend most of their time while reviewing projects. It's important to note that for security purposes, the FAST system will time out after 90 minutes. The Review Sheet tab has a session timer that is located above the tabs, which counts down 90 minutes from when the proposal was opened. To ensure that your work is saved, click the Save As Review in Progress button before the session timer runs out, which will reset the 90-minute timer. If the timer expires, you will lose all the information you have entered and there will be no way to retrieve it. I would also like to point out the Application Q&A button. This will bring up the information in the Application tab in a new window so you can easily refer back and forth between the application and the review questions. Now I will take you through a couple questions that comprise the questionnaire. Please note that on the review sheet you will find 3 different question types: drop-down menus, numerical answer fields, and text boxes. The sole non-numerical question, question 3, regarding prior year SCBGP projects, is an unscored question. All other questions are numerical questions where reviewers will rate a project on a scale of 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, with the lowest number classifying responses poor and the highest number as excellent. The scores reviewers give for their responses will be tabulated into the overall score for the project. The highest score possible is 50 out of 50. Each scored question has guidance provided for you so that you can critically analyze the response given. However, all responses should be analyzed based on the following: is the proposed project a priority for the specialty crop industry? And what is the concept, the proposal's likelihood for success? All questions must have responses to them, otherwise reviewer feedback will not be accepted and will be returned to the reviewer for completion before the deadline. The last question is a text box where reviewers can give any final feedback to the applicant. Feedback should use complete sentences and should be specific, actionable, and support the reviewer's numerical score. Reviewer comments will be used by applicants who are invited back to their grant proposal phase to refine and build on their answers, and helps those who are not invited back to improve the quality of their proposals for the next funding cycle. Please note that reviewers must provide comments to each proposal. Proposals submitted without feedback may be returned to the reviewer for comment. Lastly, be sure that comments are left in the text box provided on the Review Sheet tab and not in the Notes tab. The Reviewer Notes tab is a different tab used by CDFA staff. Below the text box, reviewers will find the total numeric score, which is the sum of the scores given in responses to the above questions. Finally, below the overall review comments text box, reviewers will find two buttons: the Save as Review in Progress button, which will reset the session timer and save your progress. There is also the Review Complete button, which is what members will utilize to submit their completed reviews. If members experience any issues using FAST, please contact us at grants@cdfa.ca.gov. The FAST Help Desk is also available for any technical issues you may experience while using FAST. Thank you all again for your help reviewing these proposals, and we will take any questions.
Okay, so it looks like we have one question. Have the applications been pre-screened for validity before handed out to our TRC team? For instance, are we to and qualify, or have some applications been disqualified by the time we have received them? So for this question, we have actually gone through and disqualified any of the applications that were submitted that did not meet certain standards. So you, for the most part, should not be reviewing applications that have been disqualified.
Just a little comment on that. We disqualify projects that don't fit the grant. So if they're not a good fit for the specialty crop block grant program, if they're wholly ineligible, but a project wouldn't get disqualified just for having, for example, one or two small unallowable costs. We also, in addition to doing this, we call it completeness check when we're reviewing for if they qualify or not. We also do an administrative review, CDFA staff, that kind of takes all the nitty gritty, code of federal regulations aspects into account. And we ask you all more to provide your subject matter expertise. For example, the research projects, I can tell you that this piece of equipment is allowable or not, but I can't tell you if this is going to help figure out if the nematodes are doing nematode things, for example. So that was where we ask all of you to share your subject matter experts knowledge. Question: will reviewers be compensated for their efforts? No, this is a volunteer process. If we do wind up having in-person meetings, and if you are selected as the representative of your committee for the in-person funding recommendation meeting, we do reimburse for travel, but this is a volunteer exercise. During the presentation, someone asked about the dates of the final meeting. We don't have those dates yet, but Ed did share a survey and he'll share it again. Please fill in that survey regarding what dates work for you all and if you want in-person or virtual for the second round meeting. The first round meeting will be virtual.
Correct. Thank you, Lauren. So yeah, after this meeting, everyone will be getting an email saying what group funding category they've been assigned to. And then it will also have links to the TRC portal. It will have links to the survey as well, which will determine if for the second round, if you want it in person, and then what days that we have available you would like your team to meet on. And then we'll try to accommodate through there. And then, of course, if there's any questions in the meantime, please feel free to reach out to grants@cdfa.ca.gov with any questions you have, and just make sure you put in the subject matter, I guess, TRC or 2026 SCVGP TRC. But it doesn't look like we have any more questions. So I think with that,
looks like a few additional questions came in. Are we allowed to share that we are part of the TRC with our colleagues, or does that violate ethics? Yes, you can certainly share that you're part of the TRC, that you're traveling to Sacramento for a meeting, etc. We just ask that you don't share the details of the proposals themselves or the discussion at the meetings, etc., etc. Second part to that question, are we able to answer questions or help in the future with the submission process, or is it better to steer clear of that type of engagement? You are allowed to submit a grant if you would like. I know several of our valued TRC members are grant writers and similar. You would just have to recuse yourself from any grants that you did consult on even a little bit. So even if you only answered like one question in the future, but we have folks who join the TRC openly to learn for more successful grants in the future, and that is fine as long as you are following both the letter and the spirit of the law when it comes to recusing yourself for conflicts of interest. Again, thank you all so much for joining the TRC this year. We truly, truly appreciate all of our volunteers. We could not do it without you. If you have any questions, please email that email address on your screen. And thank you for joining us today.